I would like to, Jennifer, if we could we get everyone, the jurors, to introduce themselves? Do we have an active microphone? If each of you would stand and just kind of introduce yourself and what you represent and your expectations of today. Edwin?
I'm Edwin Fountain. I am General Counsel at the American Battle Monuments Commission, which designs, maintains, and operates American military cemeteries and memorials around the world. I'm also Vice Chairman of the U.S. World War I Centennial Commission, currently developing the National World War I Memorial. I'm hoping today to get some help in differentiating 5 very compelling yet very unique designs, each on a very unique part of this site, and looking forward to learning more about the designers' visions.
Good morning. I'm Herman Viola. I'm a curator emeritus at the Smithsonian. I'm the senior advisor to this project. And I'd have to say that in looking at all these designs and even these 5 finalists, I would like to see all 5 of them put up on the property because they're wonderful. And so I'm just so glad to be part of all this, and I look forward to these presentations.
Good morning. I'm Johnetta Betch Cole. I am the Director Emerita of the National Museum of African Art here at the Smithsonian, and incredibly proud to be a member of this jury. This is an honor. It's a distinct honor to be able to experience the artistry, the passion, the sacred commitment that I think each of these competitors has shown. Like my esteemed colleagues, I look forward now to, for me, the second experience of actually having the artists, these creators, come before us. Somehow, don't ask me to explain it, somehow we're gonna manage to make a decision. It will not be easy.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Birdwell, and I am the Director of the Department of Veterans Affairs Office of Tribal Government Relations. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma, and I'm very honored to be part of this jury, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing more from the designers and artists of these exceptional designs, and looking forward to this project becoming a reality. Great to be with you all here today.
Tatsmewi, good morning. My name is Brian McCormick. I am a landscape architect. I have my own firm on the Nez Perce Indian Reservation in Idaho. I'm an enrolled member of the Nez Perce tribe, and I'm very honored to be part of this project because my father is a Vietnam veteran and an enrolled member of the Nez Perce tribe as well. And I've been really excited about all these designs that we've been very fortunate to look at.
My name is Ulak, or you can call me Larry Avakana. And I'm originally from Utqiagvik, from Barrow, they call it. They changed it back to its original name of Utqiagvik. And my mother's from Tigigaamute. Tigigaam is Point Hope, and it's one of our oldest villages. It's over 6,000 years old that we know of right now. So it's really an honor for me to be here. I'm an artist, started in 1966 as an artist, so at the Institute of American Indian Arts, when it first beginnings. So it's really an honor to be here, especially for my father, who was a veteran of the Second World War. He was in the Aleutian campaign. So thank you very much.
Nich Maitski, as we say at home. And so that means good morning. And my name is Lillian Pitt, and I'm an artist from the Northwest and from the Columbia River Gorge, where my ancestors lived for over 12,000 years. And so when I make my art, using the petroglyphs and pictographs all over, and just keeping in touch with my ancestors. And so it's been a great honor to be part of this and to help honor all the veterans, and a great privilege for me. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Aloha mai kako o wau kawika makei. I'm a native Hawaiian whose ohana stems from Ka'awaloa Konahema, which is on the island of Hawaii, until you reach the east side of Kealia on the island of Kauai. It's my esteemed honor to be here and coming perhaps from the farthest distance, but becoming a part of this design jury. We have become a family in a very short time to deliberate and discuss and talk about all the things that are important about honoring our kupuna, our ancestors, who have served in many different ways, either those that had gone away to give of their time and service, and in some cases their own lives, as well as the families that were left behind. And so to come here in this capacity to share what I can bring to the table, I wear a couple of hats. I'm an environmental planner and designer by day, I guess, and when I'm not doing that, I am a traditional cultural practitioner in the arts of hula, chant, composition of ki'oalu, which is slaki, and other means of poetic expression. And I think for us here, and I think we would all agree that the fact we get to be here and narrowing down to these 5 selections, including our first presentation here shortly, it was a difficult job, but each, as many have said before, bringing we call it i'ini, or a passion that's driven by the stories that are intimate to your own experiences. And so for us to kind of convene together to accomplish this task, there's a Hawaiian word that we use called lauaki, L-A-U-A-K-I, and it means literally to bring together a collaboration of talents, of passions, of interest to accomplish a singular task or goal. So in that spirit of lauaki, mahalo for allowing me to be here. Aloha.
Great, thank you all. The way that we will run the day is that we will have each artist, competitor, make a presentation. We would ask them to hold that presentation to 20, 25 minutes in that area to allow them to have a conversation with the jury afterwards, as far as clarifying any questions, but to also talk about ideas and how the project is moving along. I would also say right up front that for someone like me that has been involved in design competitions for 40 years, what I have found is that there are no losers in a competition, because everybody is contributing to a better understanding of what the project is. And in this particular case, we're looking for a solution that is not only real, physical, iconic, but also carries with it the spirit and passion and honor that is due and out of this particular competition. So our first presenter today is James Dinh, and his proposal is Wellspring of Valor. James, I'll turn the podium over to you, please.
Good morning. My name is James Dinh. When I got a phone call from Don a few months ago announcing that I was one of the 5 finalists, he asked me, what tribe are you affiliated with? And I told him, I belong to the Vietnam tribe. A little bit about myself. I came here to the US when I was 7 years old with my family, and I was born in Vietnam. And so at the close of the Vietnam War in '75, our family immigrated here. And my father, he was a doctor in the South Vietnamese Army. And it's been a very great experience to be among very talented peers, and I would like to personally thank the members of the jury and also everyone that made this opportunity possible. On the behalf of the design team, I would like to express our gratitude in having been given this honor to submit and present our design proposal for the National Native American Veterans Memorial. We understand the deep significance of this project to Native American veterans and their communities. As most members on our team are not of Native American heritage, except for one person, we have educated ourselves as much as possible about different aspects of Native cultures by reading books, research, and talking to people. We believe that everything we have learned in these past few months has enriched the concept design and enlarged its purview so that it fulfills the visions and design principles set forth for the memorial. Because the visions and design principles represent the culmination of many years of community consultation, we have aspired to embody these collective voices and aspirations in the design for the memorial. Our design team is comprised of artists, architects, and engineers who will bring a breadth of experience to the project. We envision the team as a circle of collaborators who balance the practical with the visionary. As the lead designer, I would represent the team and guide the overall design vision for the project. Based in Los Angeles, I work in the fields of public art and landscape architecture. Michael Naranjo, who came from Albuquerque with his wife to join us today, is a Native American sculptor. He's a veteran of the Vietnam War. Blinded during his tour of duty, he did not allow this setback to deter him from becoming a visual artist. With characteristic humor, Michael has even said that he is a better sculptor as a result. RJA are landscape architects and planners who would be the architect of record on the project. With a 60-year history, the firm is recognized for the public projects. Some examples include the Veterans Affairs healthcare system in Palo Alto, California, work at Yosemite National Park, and San Francisco's Union Square. Eckersley O'Callaghan is an international structural engineering firm regarded for their knowledge of glass as a structural material. They have been involved with highly complex and recognized projects such as the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial in Washington, D.C., the Steve Jobs Theater in Cupertino, and you recognize their work, all their flagship Apple stores throughout the world. Fluidity design consultants are water feature designers and engineers. The firm worked on the evocative water features at the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial in Washington, D.C. Fisher Moran Stone are architectural lighting designers whose projects in Washington, D.C. includes the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Washington Monument, and the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. They were also the lighting designers for the National 9/11 Memorial in New York. I will now talk about the location where we chose to place the memorial. This was a very crucial aspect of the design process and a very difficult decision. We located the memorial on the south side of the museum by the south entrance. One reason we chose this location is because of the presence of two existing large elm trees. As universal symbols of life and renewal, the trees will offer shade and shelter, as well as a sense of healing and consolation. The memorial is set within a meadow clearing next to one of these elm trees. Locating the memorial on this side of the museum is intended to not only take advantage of the spaciousness and light-filled quality of the site, but also to create a destination. The substantial foot traffic along Independence Avenue and Maryland Avenue will attract both museum visitors and passersby. The proposed design also takes into account of the larger context. You can see on the aerial map on the upper right-hand corner. The memorial is aligned diagonally with the historical Maryland Avenue viewshed that terminates at the Capitol building. The location capitalizes both visually and symbolically on this important viewshed, just as the nearby Eisenhower Memorial will do so. While being a distinctive feature, the memorial has been designed to complement the important monuments, avenues, and great civic spaces of our nation's capital. Titled Wellspring of Valor, the proposed design for the National Native American Veterans Memorial envisions a sacred space where Americans can honor and reflect on the great sacrifices of all Native veterans, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. By weaving together and juxtaposing powerful symbols, culturally rooted forms, and enduring materials, the memorial will convey a combination of strength and vulnerability, spirituality and earthliness, loss and renewal. The proposed memorial design is comprised of 5 main elements that reinforce one another to evoke layered experiences. The 5 elements are the Wellspring, the Star Spire, the Wall of Stories, the Family Seat, and the Landscape Meadow Mound. By using the analogy of basket weaving, I will go through each of the 5 design elements and explain the inspiration behind their form, their function, and their symbolism. Just as a basket weaver begins coiling a basket from the center, the core of the memorial space is a circular plaza paved with gray granite. If there is one visual symbol that has deep cultural and spiritual resonance for many Native American peoples, it is the circle. In describing the painting Good Soldier by Martin Red Bear, an artist and veteran of the Vietnam War, the painting is on the upper left-hand corner. In describing this painting, Dr. Herman J. Viola wrote, "The circle has always had spiritual significance to Indian peoples. It is a symbol of unity, the unity of family, of tribe, of country." The image of the circle can be found in Native community gathering formations such as drum and powwow circles. It can be found in ancient petroglyphs and sacred sites from Alaska across the continental US to the Hawaiian Islands. The circular geometry is therefore used to organize the Veterans Memorial Space, and this motif is echoed in all the elements of the memorial. Central to the circular memorial space is the Wellspring, which you can see on the slide is the blue central circle. The Wellspring is a water feature that constantly flows. This wellspring, which metaphorically emanates from deep within the earth, expresses the deep spiritual connection Native peoples have for the land. As a source of life, water evokes quietude, calm, cleansing, and healing. Because ceremony plays an important role in the healing process for Native veterans, the ever-flowing fountain can be used in purifying and therapeutic ceremonies. Excuse me, go back. From the Wellspring, 5 glass spires rise in unison, symbolically extending the waters of the Wellspring towards the sky. From a bird's eye view, the spires form the outline of a star used throughout American history to honor, recognize, reward, and represent our highest aspirations. The star is a powerful symbol of the United States, a symbol of the land, as well as the 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. Every facet of the star is integral to making it whole, expressing a collective spirit and strength. The star spires will have the words valor, honor, pride, devotion, and wisdom inscribed on their translucent surface. These 5 principles were directly inspired by a quote by former Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell. He wrote, "This memorial is a tremendously important effort to recognize Native American service to this nation. We have so much to celebrate. Like so many others, I was compelled to serve to honor the warrior tradition that is inherent to most Native American societies, the pillars of strength, honor, pride, devotion, and wisdom." End quote. The 5 spires express the deeply rooted cultural commitment of Native American peoples to serve their country. As principles embodied by all Native veterans, the timelessness of the words valor, honor, pride, devotion, and wisdom will ring true in the future as they do today. Let me go back one. A visitor will notice that there's a void in the middle of this star. This void of nothingness represents those veterans who sacrificed their lives to keep our nation strong and safe. Families, communities, and our nation can never fill this irreplaceable emptiness, but we should always remember and honor their sacrifice. The shape of the star spire will evoke many associations among visitors. People might think they look like teepees or native wood shelters, or the snow-capped volcanoes and blue glaciers of Alaska, or the razor-backed mountains of Hawaii. People's eyes will be carried upward towards the sky in both inspiration and reflection. And glass is used as a focal point for the memorial because as a material, it simultaneously discloses and illuminates. Its translucency, its luminescence, and its vulnerability belying great strength express an inner force that emulates both the mortal body and the eternal human spirit. The material is also an ancient medium that some contemporary Native American artists have incorporated into their work to great effect. As you can see, the image on the upper right-hand corner by a Native American artist, and it's here at the museum. And really the use of glass by Native cultures shows that Native cultures are not static, but they use different materials, they use modern materials, but their works are continually evolving, but yet somehow always rooted. The ripples of paving that radiate outward from the Wellspring fountain and at a curving stone wall, the wall of stories, the third element of the memorial. Spatially, the wall of stories defines an embracing, partially enclosed room that can accommodate both private contemplation and public activities, such as ceremonies. Because the wall simultaneously curves as it rises and falls in an arc, a visitor will always have a sense of connectedness to the surrounding environment. On the wall will be chiseled quotations from Native men and women from all branches of the military. The quotes will reveal personal journeys of courage and sacrifice made by Native veterans in the service of their communities and nations over the course of history. Buttressed by a planted earth mound on its western side, the wall of stories is like a slice through the earth, revealing human voices and human experiences that are all too often buried by the numbers and facts of history. As many Native cultures view time as cyclical, the wall rises from the earth and then descends, implying that history is a cycle. Along with quotations, the listing of veterans' names, tribe, or Native nation, military war or conflict, and military branch will serve to humanize history, as well as show that the veterans' commitment to serve is a widely shared and deeply rooted cultural value that spans time and geography. Across this arc of conflicts and war, the human condition remains a universal constant, as expressed in the words of those who lived and died by these events. Situating within the comforting shade cast by this wall of stories, it's the fourth element of the memorial design, the family seat. Emerging from both ends of the wall, this floating bench will provide a place for veterans, their families and friends, and other visitors, a place to rest and engage with each other or reflect. It can also serve as an altar where ceremonial offerings such as feathers, flowers, and flags can be placed. Symbolically, the family seat honors the families of Native veterans. We often forget that family members who remain at home also make many sacrifices. The family will be movingly embodied in a figurative bronze sculpture of a mother and child who will sit on the bench alongside us. As a universal symbol of the continuity of life, the life-size piece will be sculpted by Michael Naranjo. And at this time, it will give me great pleasure to introduce to you Michael Naranjo, who will speak about the inspiration for the sculpture.
I can find this mic here. Good morning. Whoops, I tapped something. My name's Michael Naranjo. I am a veteran. I am a Santa Clara tribal member. I am a sculptor. The last time I saw the sunrise, the light of day, was not far from the South China Sea in Vietnam. I consider it a privilege and an honor to be a part of this whole process and the possibility of creating and helping to create a memorial for the Native American veterans. In talking to Mr. Dinh, he asked if I would collaborate with him in creating a sculpture for his proposal, and of course, I said yes, so here I am. The sculpture that I would like to create is that of a Native American woman sitting with her child alongside on the family seat. She carries a heavy burden. For at times, she can embrace those who have returned from the field of battle, and at other times, simply honor their spirit. The woman is dressed in a simple shift, which could be found through many Native tribes throughout our countries. It has cap sleeves, a boat neck, and is mid-calf length. Her son sits alongside her, and he has his hair loose, it's down his back, and he has on a loincloth. He leans in very gently towards her. His forearm is resting on her left thigh. The mother's left arm is gently touching the boy's left shoulder. Her right arm is lifted slightly, gesturing towards the star spires. She tells him of the valor and the honor of those warriors who came before him, possibly preparing him for what he might do someday, following the same path that they did. In describing my work, it is representational, it is simple, it is fluid. The color of my patina is a dark gunmetal black color. It is the color of the world that I see around me. And it has also become a trademark over the many years for my work. I believe the contrast between the wall of stories and the sculpture will be striking and should not detract from any portion of the memorial. I hope I've given you some idea of what is within my mind's eye. Thank you. Jane.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. In basket weaving, the last step is slashing the rim, which gives the basket its strength and finishes the vessel. As the rim of the memorial space, a landscape meadow will unify all the other memorial elements. The natural habitats surrounding the museum had originally been designed to be an extension of the museum proper and its concept of returning to a native place. The memorial's proposed landscape meadow continues this vision by surrounding the memorial area with abundant grasses, wildflowers, and other native plants so as to create a sacred clearing. A narrow gravel pathway winds from the Memorial Plaza through this meadow past the southern marker boulder to the existing old elm tree. People are welcome to tie prayer flag to the tree and use it as a place to pray and reflect as well. Visitors will always feel close to the natural world and its cycles of renewal. The use of landscape to frame a sacred space observes the native tradition of locating sacred places within natural settings. Features such as mountains, rivers, forests are often used to define these places. Sometimes human-made sacred mountains are created from earth, such as the Serpent Mound in Ohio. Inspired by these Native American earth mounds, a landscape mound buttresses the wall of stories on the west side. Like a sign, the words National Native American Veterans Memorial will be inscribed on the portion of the wall that rises above the earth mound. The landform arcs from the sidewalk towards the museum's south entrance, creating a distinctive arrival corridor to the museum. The ever-transforming landscape, meadow, and mound are an integral part of the memorial space and experience itself. As a commemorative work located within the fabric of the city, the memorial's lighting will play a crucial role in conveying atmosphere as well as ensuring security. The goal will be to make the illumination feel as if it is originating from the areas around the memorial elements themselves, so as to achieve a sense of warm intimacy. Continuous uplighting will subtly illuminate the wall, highlighting its embracing form. The bronze sculpture of the mother and child will be lit from the front so as to bring out the human contours. And the use of diffuse lighting within the star spire will bring out its luminescence and hauntingly accentuate the void of loss. I will now play a short video that takes you through the various memorial elements and the spaces. Now we're looking at the south entrance of the museum. Dedicated to both the living and the deceased, as well as the 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, the memorial is integrated into the grounds of the museum while interfacing with the historical urban context of Washington, D.C. As a commemorative space where ceremonies and healing can take place, the memorial welcomes all people to join in honoring the valor of Native American veterans yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jury, do you have any questions, comments, discussion? Who would like to go first?
Thank you, James, for that wonderful presentation. Can you talk to us about the orientation of the wall?
Yes.
One of the challenges of this site, as you know, is the traffic noise along Maryland Avenue and Independence.
Yes.
And so how did you balance the orientation of the wall in the teardrop site relative to the entrance and to the street?
Okay, let me go back. Oh. No, in my initial proposal, I actually had the memorial on the other side, if you recall. And after I went to the site, because I had never been to the site prior to that, and so when I went to DC for the first time, and so I walked the site and said, well, yes, the street is very busy. And that was one of the major reasons why I switched it to the other side of the entrance, to the east side, because that section of Maryland Avenue receives much less traffic than, is it Independence Avenue? Yeah. And so by placing the wall on the western edge, it serves the purpose of blocking out the visual traffic of Independence Avenue. And it also creates shade on the seat itself. As you get western light, then it would cast shadows onto the seat, making it a much more comfortable space. I don't know if I answered your question, but it was a very hard decision to make because the site itself, there's not much space really anywhere around the museum. So it was really a balancing of what are the priorities of the memorial. And I felt that to create a space that was generous enough to accommodate gatherings was very important. And that's what I gather when I read the mission of the memorial. Yeah.
Since I've got the mic, one other question. Talk to us about the visual character of the glass. It shows up in the images here in this sort of light translucent green. Is that what you intend, or is that just to illustrate it in these images? Is it more white? Is it more clear?
Yes, it will be an etched glass. So it will give it a translucent look. It won't be clear. The only clear part will be the letters, the valor, the pride, those texts will be clear so that light will go through them. And that's the intention, so that when, for example, at night, when it's internally lit, the blue part, the etched part will be luminescent, but the words, you can actually read the words. So because the words will be clear glass.
I was deeply moved by your presentation. The amount of symbolism, the way in which you have paid honor to heroes and sheroes who are Native American veterans. But I'd like you to help me to imagine the experience of someone who doesn't have the privilege of listening to your presentation. You know, the hustle and bustle of our lives.
Yeah.
And as someone who has worked here at the Smithsonian, I've experienced individuals who are thoughtful and contemplative and who read every single thing. And in a museum, read every text. But many don't. What do you think will be the impression of those who just quickly see this memorial?
Right, right. And one of the intentions of the design is to create very layered experiences and layered spaces so that your experience, depending on the person, will bring away different things. And I think it was important for me to create a sense of enclosure by using the landscape, which sets the memorial space apart. So that's one thing that a visitor will notice when they walk along or drive along. They'll notice this very, a very lush landscape, but then it's a very architectonic element that rises above this very natural form. And that itself is something that will draw people in. And once you're inside the space, there's, depending on you, you might focus on the wall, you might focus on the water feature, you might focus on the spires. Something that rises, like the spires, is something that rises is always something, it's very uplifting. It's a very, sort of something ingrained in our DNA. When we see mountains, when we see trees, it elevates our spirit. And I hope people take away that aspect. And then, they might not know that this is a memorial, but when they start looking at reading the text, and then they get a more human dimension. Like I said in my presentation, history, we often relegate people to numbers and statistics, but by allowing people's experiences and voices to be presented on the wall, I think it will humanize the experience of what being a veteran is and what it entails. And the text will have to be gathered by, extensive outreach to the community in order to represent the diverse experiences of both men and women and veterans from all the different tribes. And I think what was not in my initial proposal was a Michael sculpture, and I thought it was very important to balance the more abstract elements of the memorial with a more representational aspect. And I think Michael brings that. His sculptures are, like he said, they're representational, but they're not outright figurative, and they're very tactile, and that will invite people to just sit alongside the sculpture and maybe take a selfie, engage with the sculpture. And so there's different ways that one can engage with the memorial, either through touching the water, touching the plants, running their fingers along the etched stone, reading the text. They can walk through the meadow towards the tree. It was very important to incorporate that existing tree into the memorial space itself. Because I've been here now through winter, through spring, and the landscape changes constantly. And that is an integral part of the memorial experience, in my opinion. It is not something static. It is something that constantly changes, and it evokes different things when you're there.
So don't mind us. We're learning how to work together here in the delivery of our questions with each other. So do you want to go next? Do you want to go next? Laidlaw, very good presentation.
Thank
and
you.
For me as a Kanaka Maoli, the thing that I took away from this without hearing your presentation and being privy to reading your report, and for me, I often go into my own words of language, is this idea of palua, we call it, where this sense of duality or contrast, as you're saying, so where you've got vertical with horizontal, you've got the earthen embankment coupled with, modern, I would say like an architectural element, the use of glass versus nature. These contrasts from a Hawaiian perspective is part of Hawaiian design. And so I say that as a front. I'm not sure if I have a question more, just a comment, because I think for each of the presentations, one of the things that some of the folks that I spoke to back home who are veterans, who are Hawaiian, is they place it on me, Kavika, make sure that somewhere in the discussion for each of the designs, we don't lose the Kanaka Maoli narrative, specifically the Native Hawaiian narrative, because oftentimes we can group natives together, but we're so unique and diverse, even amongst quote unquote Native Americans, there's such a huge diversity of what that actually means, right? So to some degree, I like some of the ambiguity of self-translation and interpretation where you find yourself in this site with enough sensibility of specificity to make that connection, especially with the mother and child, and all those parallels of importance to ohana and things of that nature. So that's my comment, I guess. So that's very Maikai. And I guess my question would be, in some of the discussion, considerations of, I guess, two things. One, in the spires and the use of the words themselves. Any idea or any thoughts given to, instead of words, perhaps translation of design motifs that are representative of them, like patterns that could come from different groups to convey that idea. And the same thing with the languages on the wall itself. And then I think in one of the diagrams you show next to the sculpture, the opportunity to provide tribute, or you call it ho'okupu, whether it's a lei or something else. How do you sort of manage that where you want it to be engaging, as you said, for someone to take a selfie, but if someone wants to leave something of a tribute, that to some degree becomes a sort of sacred space. So sort of managing that integration and interaction. And
Right.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Was that a question?
I guess you can speak to the.
Oh, okay, yeah. Regarding the words that are etched onto the glass, that is something that is, I'm not wedded to that idea. It's open to, negotiation, I would say. Because I can't recall looking back, like how I derived at those words. I mean, a lot of it was, like I said, was inspired by that, the quote by the senator, former senator. Yeah, I mean, I can very much see, sort of patterns or motifs that can be etched onto the glass. That again has its own challenges because you're talking about, the broad community of Native Americans from Hawaii to Alaska. How do you, what artists are you going to choose? And that has its own challenges. But I can, definitely see how certain motifs can be incorporated into the glass. As to the seat, I don't, that's a hard question. How do you separate something, sacred from something that's where people can sit? Yeah, I went to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial and people put flowers along the walkway, and I don't know, I mean, that's a walkway, but it's also a sacred space. Yeah. So I think maybe unconsciously, humans know what is a sacred space and what is not, and people would defer not sitting on a flower or reef. You know, it's, yeah.
Okay. I just love this piece. Thank you. Thank you for going through all your work to get it together. And I just love everything about it. But I'm a little concerned with the quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 2 Navajos and a Hawaiian. And I think there needs to be more representation throughout the states and Alaska and well, you've got Hawaii. And, you know, and there's so many tribes too that could be included, you know, without any names specifically. But seeing the tribes would be nice. Yeah. You know, and not in the glass so much, and in the wall. And so, and I like the fact that there's seating space, and the mother and child gives it the more human interaction that people can connect with. But I like the abstract of your spires. It's going to last forever. And I would like to look at it forever. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So the quotes that I put on the wall here are really just placeholders, and they were taken from the Smithsonian website. And in the report, I did mention that the quotes that will eventually go on the wall will have to be the result of tremendous community outreach to represent all peoples and genders. Yeah. Yeah, that will be a task in itself.
We are nearing end. Oh, Stephanie, please. Okay.
Mine's, I think it's a pretty simple question. With a star spire, you can see the star from an aerial perspective, but is there a way to see that it's a star for the pedestrian or with the way the lighting will be done?
I think it will take a little imagination on people's parts as they walk around and figure that it's a five-pointed, five-angle object. And the museum, you will be able to see it from above because the museum does have windows on that side. I haven't been up there, but just from looking at photos, yeah.
Very good. I think we do have to keep pretty close to time today in order to honor all the speakers and give them the same amount of time. James and Michael, thank you so much.
Thank you.
One, I think that to me, looking at this as a icon that is inspirational, meaningful, and symbolic is really quite extraordinary. And Michael, your work as well really adds to this another dimension. I think the other thing that's very interesting to me is the way that you have integrated this into the kind of procession, if you will, of Washington, and recognizing kind of the urban design characteristics of what this could be and what the meaning could be if it was placed on the south side of the building. So thank you very, very much. Thank you from the National Museum of the American Indian, and thank you for the veterans that are throughout this country. Thank you.
Thank you.